On the data center side, there are 300 bans over in the States, or moratoriums on data centers across the US. The bottleneck is no longer the model. It's now planning, water, energy, land, and getting through the whole process. We're yet to see how that's going to pan out over there, and I know that we're going to have similar challenges across Europe. Enterprises are now negotiating their AI bills down. The price of intelligence is deflating, you could argue. And we've got the added looming story of open source, open weight models looming large. And personally, I think this is something to look out for, how enterprise and large orgs are going to start looking at what they bring on-prem, what they bring in-house, and how they then lean on the frontiers as a supplement rather than the core service. So I would argue as the price of tokens is coming down, this is where Europe can step in at the application layer. Mads, do you agree, disagree?
Look, I think it's tempting to say that when inference becomes cheap, that's Europe's moment, but I think that has it maybe a little bit backwards, because cheap inference is everybody's input. So I don't think that's nothing that confers a specific strategic advantage for us. I think for us to win, we have to make the best products, not just rely on cheap tokens. And the harder, maybe better question is, what does it take to make great products? And I think to Neil's point, to your point, I mean, we've seen some phenomenal businesses being built right now. That's what we have to do. There's no shortcut. We have to work hard, and the founders and the ecosystem has to work hard to build incredible businesses. And that's exactly what we're all doing. And and I think the cheap inference is just a macro condition that will benefit everybody in the application layer in that sense. And that sort of goes to something we've been talking about for a long time, which is ultimately value. A lot of the value will accrue to applications. The cost of tokens come down. We've talked about Anthropic, and if the cost of 1 million tokens goes from $15 to 50 cents, well, you need to 30x the number of tokens just to stand still. Now, tokens are growing very, very rapidly. We have seen some variability in pricing, but consumption is still growing so rapidly that revenue, of course, is exploding. And actually in Q1, we saw the revenue from the AI economy exceed the depreciation on the CapEx, right? So, of course, there's a cash drain still, there's cash outflow because you're buying all the GPUs and all the data centers up front and installing them. But if you then look at the depreciated cost, well, it's profitable. Now, the bigger point is what's going to happen here going forward. And I think just being an AI lab, just being a model lab on its own is a brutal business. There is a commoditization. The open weight models coming out of China are formidable. And so power will accrue to the ones building the best products on top. And we've seen even the frontier labs doing that. I mean, Anthropic have been super active in turning the model supremacy into application supremacy and dominance across different verticals. So all very, very exciting to see play out.
Yeah, Neil, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think it's hard for UK and Europe to outspend the US and China in this race. So we've got to be smart. I was at an applied AI summit last Monday where you had Sir Liam Fox promoting his new book, The Coming Storm: Why Water Will Rewrite the 21st Century. Back to that story about Micron, water, energy are really important in this equation. I think that's got to be front of mind for politicians, thinking about how we can create the best possible environment for those building here to do so, and to look at how we can support this industry, where the constraints are going to be, and also what the long-term impacts are going to be as well. If we're taking water away from other uses to build data centers, that creates all sorts of problems. So how this feeds into planning is so important too.
Yeah, I think all of it is going to be challenging everywhere on the globe, but I think that the planning piece here, I think, is especially going to be challenging. Need to get through the NIMBYs.